So I just finished reading The Great Hunt, literally like an hour ago. It's very fresh in my head. Now I'm just kind of in a daze. I just feel like I need to get it off my chest because I have a lot of opinion. I have a lot of things to say about this book. I will be doing a spoiler-free and spoiler-filled review. So don't worry about that. I thought it was really good. It took The Eye of the World in new directions for sure. The world expands a lot. And that was like my first big take with this. The second I got into Moiraine's POV, I went, okay, this is I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. I mean, in the first book, Moiraine is like Dumbledore, you know? It's like you don't get Dumbledore POVs, you know, this kind of person who's supposed to be above everything else and is mysterious, and that's what we love about them. But now we're in their POV. They're just a regular person too, just like everyone else. It's really interesting. I was a little worried, you know, early on because I feel like writers can get bogged down with POVs and it can get tedious. I thought that Robert Jordan juggled it, you know, really well. There's a lot that happens in this book too, just like how in The Eye of the World, I was really surprised with how much actually happens. Impressive just how much ground is traveled throughout this series. There is kind of like this warm feeling you get thinking about, you know, the original group in The Eye of the World and them going, you know, through the Blight and Lan and Moiraine being with them, and like, you know, they're just, you know, kids. And now they're kind of having to be their own people and figure things out on their own. There's not a lot of lovey-dovey, like, sappy moments. It's kind of interesting to me because it seems like something I would expect out of a series of this size. Really am attached to these characters, but they're just really unhappy. Like they're not having a good time, and it affects their relationships with each other. One thing I loved a lot about this book is Rand's character development. He's still like a kid, very naive in a lot of ways, so I can forgive a lot of his, you know, stupid assumptions, that sort of thing. In this book especially, there's a lot of attention paid to Rand's development as a character, especially in the middle portion of the book when he's really having to learn to take a lead, you know? Literally, the book starts out with him trying to escape. He just like pages and pages of him trying to flee and get away from his problems. That very much changes. That's just fantastic. To me, Nynaeve is like my favorite character. She just has a great dynamic with the other characters. I just love how she is a thorn in everyone's side, and she really thrives on anger. Which is interesting, seeing anger used in like this positive way. You know, that's how she channels her power, you know, is with anger. Some parts of it felt like a little bit rehashing of The Eye of the World. Certain elements, certain plot devices were kind of like, okay, this is sort of like what we've been through before, but there's a lot of new stuff for sure. I would put this right alongside of The Eye of the World right now in terms of enjoyment. But let's get into spoilers because I have some thoughts. I loved the opening of this book, how it feels so different and fresh from what we went through with The Eye of the World, because it's just like very political. We're meeting a ton of new characters, ton of new point of views. Felt very much like Dune in a lot of ways, which I love Dune, and just these, you know, what are we going to do about this problem? What are we going to do about Rand? You know, who's listening in on us, and the factions and the Red Aja and the all different sorts of stuff. I love that. I love that so much. There's just there's some funny scenes in these books, like Rand and Perrin and Matt's their clothes just being burned. It's just like reminds me of like The Office when Kevin goes to the wedding and then the hotel staff like burns his shoes. They're just like, they smell terrible. We can't really apologize. Moiraine orders that all their clothes be taken, and Rand has to deal. I think that's an underrated element. The way clothing is used, especially in Rand's case, it really adds to his like character development and what he has to go through. Like, he's thrust into a position he doesn't want to be, which is the Dragon Reborn. He doesn't want anything to do with that. Mirror of that, he is thrust literally into this clothing that makes him so uncomfortable, that is trying to make him look like a lord, elevate him to a status he doesn't want to be part of. So it's just like literally he does not feel comfortable in his own skin throughout this whole book. It affects, you know, his relationships to everyone, to, you know, Hurin, to Ingtar, to Matt and Perrin, just the way people interact with him. When him and Loial and Hurin get trapped in the Portal Stone world, when they're on the other side, Rand has to, you know, become a leader, and he's a changed person on the other side for sure. Selene was probably my least favorite part of the book. I get that it's a setup and everything, but Rand is suspicious of everybody, instantly starts trusting Selene. I go, okay, obviously she's no good and there's something is up. It just felt extremely obvious to the point where I was like, can we just reveal it already? Can Rand just figure out that she's, messing with him? I feel like she's going to be maybe like a major villain in book 3. I don't know. I also had a little bit of problems with the way Rand and Loial stole back the horn from Fain. It just felt insanely convenient, and I was watching it kind of holding my breath as Rand is like creeping over to try to get the dagger and get the horn. I'm like, okay, this is not going to go well. This is really dumb. And it just goes perfectly until like the last minute, of course, but they're basically like out of there with it. Carhian? Whatever that city's name is called. I liked a lot of what happened in Carhian, but we get to see Tom again, and one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the book is when Tom's apprentice is killed. That was just brutal. The whole sequence, like the action sequence with the fireworks and stuff, was unnecessary, and the Trollocs, dressed as puppets. It was a little goofy for me, and I wasn't totally on board with that, but everything else I enjoyed. I liked, the game and the great game, or the game of the houses, or whatever it is, with the political maneuvering. They have to go to that party, and I love that whole sequence when they're at this, because it's kind of like a spy thing and they got to go in there to steal something. It's a heist. I love that kind of stuff. Rand just being insanely awkward, has way too much attention on him. He doesn't want any attention, just like at the beginning of the book, but in a totally different situation. I relate to that in some ways. Not the, being the source of a ton of attention, but, trying to avoid people. Egwene and Nynaeve are probably my favorite part of this book. We're seeing these characters really grow into themselves in a big way. They make some major character development. Nynaeve is trying to be taught and trying to resist things, and Egwene is like almost jealous of how natural Nynaeve is. I think my favorite chapter in the whole book is Nynaeve's accepted test. It really showed a lot of what drives her as a character. When she goes into the accepted test, it's like, I want to do this so that I can take revenge on Moiraine. Like, she's just so driven. This is just how she is. Like, she needs to take revenge on Moiraine. She takes things out with her anger. She uses that to motivate her to strive and be excellent and protect her friends. She's just very loyal. I love that about her. She's fun to read. Matt just broke my heart, like, at the beginning of the book, like the way he was acting towards Rand. Like, Rand was being a jerk. As soon as Matt and Perrin find out about Rand channeling and potentially being the Dragon Reborn, Matt's just like, see ya. You realize, Matt, that Rand is only here for you. Like, Rand doesn't even care about the horn that much. Like, he's just here to get that stupid dagger that you stole, you moron. Like, that really made me, for the first time, just hate Matt. Now, there is a moment later in the book that redeemed Matt in my eyes a bit. Rand takes the Ingtar and the army and Varen and everybody through the portal stone to get to Toman Head. When he does this, and everyone sees flickers of their future. I got a little glimpse, I think, of how great Matt can be when he looks at Rand and he says, I'm never going to betray you. I'm sorry, I won't do it. And it's like, that's really sad. That's deep, Like, he's becoming aware, I think, of his own flaws as a person. I don't know. I feel like I need more time because so much happens in this book. Like, I haven't even discussed like the final act of the book, which was fantastic. We get all of these forces coming together, the White Cloaks, the Shan-Chan, and it comes together in a really well-realized moments. I loved that the fight that Rand has with Balsamon was in the clouds and shown for everybody. It's just like this moment, it's like, this is the moment when Rand becomes the Dragon Reborn to everybody. This is like his Spider-Man Far From Home moment. Also, the Shan-Chan and the way they use the Aes Sedai and trap them, that's just like such a perfect opposition, to invent this device. It's one thing to bring everything together into a satisfying conclusion, but it's another to know how to bring it to a conclusion and like immediately ignite the thing for the next book and leave you wanting more. And that's what this book did. That's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And check out the Patreon. Thanks. Have a good one.